Hey, Amie.
Yeah, Juan.
Give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amie Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. You are listening or watching Baseball Shangri-La. If you are listening to us on the audio portion of the podcast, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, rate us, write us a review, help spread the word. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit that notification button, give us a thumbs up, engage with us, leave us comments. We want to hear what you want to say, what you have to say about what's going on or what we're talking about. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. Amie, ¿cómo estás?
Woo! We're in the playoffs.
Long time no see, Amie.
I know it's been yesterday.
It's been yeah,
less than 24 hours as our typical.
Yeah, less than 24 hours. All right, so we got a lot to cover. And just a programming note, ladies and gentlemen, because these are the playoffs, we're only going to be doing one episode this week. So this is going to be a supersized episode, but it is just going to be one episode. So let's just get right.
Call this episode fat.
No, fluffy.
Okay.
You might have heard it. I meant fluffy. So let's just get right into it. Amie, let's start first with updates. And this is really more in terms of roster because I know we're already 2 games into the series of the NLDS, but there were some people that were left off the Dodgers roster that I'm curious if we know how soon they would be available if the Dodgers advance, that kind of stuff. What kind of updates do you have about that, Amie?
Yeah, so I mean, even going into game 1, we were pretty iffy on Freddie. It was kind of a game time decision. I don't know if anybody was paying attention to when the lineup got posted, but they held off as long as possible because of that injury. He's trying to heal, a sprain that takes about 4 to 6 weeks in 1 week. We'll talk more about him being heavily medicated during that first game. But we did hear things like Joe Kelly. He did the last pitch that he took in a simulated game. He felt something in his shoulder. So he's back out. He is not viable. And potentially the soonest we could even see him would be the World Series. So he's out for the DS and when we make it to the CS, he won't be an option for that series. And then we just, the other stuff that we've heard, Brewstar is still down with his shoulder injury. Brent Honeywell would not be available until potentially game 5 if there's a force for game 5. And then we did hear, unfortunately, that Kersh has been shut down for the season. So Dave Roberts had said this is it for 2024 for Clayton Kershaw. They did everything that they could, but the foot, his toe, it just wasn't cooperating. So unfortunately, that's kind of where we're at.
Did Kershaw speak on Friday or did he speak on Saturday?
I believe he spoke on Saturday. Yeah, it was kind of just impromptu. So basically just mirroring what Dave Roberts had already said that, he was going to be there cheering on the team and doing what he can. And he did everything he could up to this point.
So Honeywell, who is doing his best Kenny Powers impression, is there a reason why he's only going to be available until game 5? Do we know what he's dealing with?
Nothing was said. It was just that he wasn't available till game 5. But when we were hearing kind of what was going on in that game 2, it was everybody was available. So even Blake Trinan had been playing catch Sunday morning just to be potentially ready in the situation if called upon, because these are important games, whether they're game 1, game 2, they're all important to help the Dodgers advance. So.
Okay. Are those all the updates that we got?
Yeah, those are the big ones. Yep.
All right. Let's see. I mean, you let me know how you want to deal with this. I kind of want to bounce back and forth. I think I might go back and forth between game 1 and game 2. Okay. But my overall impressions, so the series is tied 1-1 going back to San Diego, and that environment is going to be nuts. Look, in terms of my overall impression of the series, Amie, I'm a little concerned because some of the things you brought up that you thought were concerns are coming through. And for me, look, the Dodgers, I think, are very lucky to be tied 1-1 because the
Some
show.
might say that's how they got through the whole season, though, and had the best record in the league. Like they took it a game at a time, and here we are.
If Jackson Merrill plays that ball that Teoscar hit better, who knows? Maybe it's a tie game. Who knows what happens in that game? But the show pods, they made some mistakes, and the Dodgers were able to cash in on them, and that's part of the game. That's part of the
You know what's great is Dave Roberts at one point had said, "That's baseball," and in that
here we go,
moment,
ladies and gentlemen. Less than 6 minutes into the program, we have our first That's Baseball.
Hey, Philip Lopez, that's for you and Jessica. But when he said that, my heart grew like 5 sizes. I was like, you get it.
But Amie, you have been saying this for as long as we, especially down the stretch. What was the concern with the starting pitching? They give up runs, and then by the time the relievers come in, it's too late. The offense can't catch up. Now, that didn't happen in game one. Game one, the offense responded and they were able to pull through. But game two was a perfect example of what you were talking about. So
I would almost say game one was the example, and they were able to overcome it. And I think that's where you're hearing a lot of people like Shohei is the difference maker, because he was able to light a fire under everybody after he hit that, what was it, a 3-run home run, and then reset the game and then get everybody on board. Then they went down again and then were able to come back up. But that's where I think Shohei and Teoscar have been like difference makers this whole season, where they're the spark. Because I think it was, I'm just trying to check my scorecards here, Yoshinobu gave up 3 runs in the first inning before any Dodger even came up to bat. They already are at a deficit. And I feel like knowing how close these playoff games can be, you've been saying this all season. Once we get to the playoffs, like they're going to be less and less. We're not going to see the 10-2 games, except that we saw it yesterday. But like those games are going to be hopefully the exception and not the rule. And right out the gate, they've got to overcome 3 runs as it is.
Yeah, so let's start then with game one. Let's start with the bad with Yamamoto. For me, so Yamamoto gave up 5 runs in 3 innings of work. Those were all the runs the Dodgers gave up. So I've said this many times. You put the bullpen in a really tough position, and the bullpen needs to be perfect for the rest of the game in order for your team to have a chance to win. And that's really asking a lot of your bullpen, because every piece that comes in after Yamamoto has to be perfect. Look, it happened in game one, right?
6 innings they pitched.
It's really difficult to repeat that, I think, through a series. And you saw what happened in game two when you had some of the lower leverage guys come in. But Amie, for me, I know, look, I've already heard some excuses from people. Well, Yamamoto's still coming back from injury. He's not completely healthy. Look, the Dodgers got this guy for the playoffs. The Dodgers thought this guy was going to be big for them in the playoffs. And I think it is very, very concerning how he pitched there. Now, it could have been the nerves, but the way he looked in game one, Amie, you tell me, did he not have that same look when the season started in Korea, where it's like, what is happening here? Like the moment seemed like it was too big for him. Like a lot of people make the when they're talking about Shohei, they say, hey, Shohei meets the moment. The moment is not too big for Shohei. I think for me, it's the reverse with Yamamoto. What I'm concerned is now, even if the Dodgers can get this to a fifth game, if it goes to a fifth game, you're going to go back out there with Yamamoto in game 5. Are you confident with that, Amie?
Well, that's why they swapped the order, because Flaherty was supposed to be the game 1 pitcher and Yamamoto would go second, but they want to make sure that they're both available, and Yamamoto's going to be the one who needs more rest. I think in this situation, like, not trying to make excuses, but I think there's a lot of things that we need to remember. Like we've both talked about this when he came over, like the transition to the US, that's a big deal. And yes, he did look shaky when he was in Seoul, But he also looked great on the mound in New York before he got injured, and that was a playoff type of atmosphere. So we know he can handle it. I think, if anything, maybe it's just like, I don't want to say head trash because I think that's doing him a disservice, but I think it's more like, it is a big moment. He may not feel 100%, and he might just be out there because who else do we have? And so nerves might get in the way, but also we can't compare him to Shohei, who, he admittedly, like when he was asked if he's nervous, he didn't even get a chance. Like Will Ireton, his interpreter, didn't even interpret it. Shohei immediately was like, nope. But he also said he's dreamed of this from his childhood. He's dreamed of these high leverage situations. So he's not nervous. He's excited. He also has the experience of being in the major leagues for 6-7+ seasons at this point. Yoshinobu's in his first major league season here. That's not saying that he hasn't played in high leverage games in Japan and the WBC, but it's still different here, and he's still in his first year of adjustment. So I think he's got a lot of stuff going on. I hope that he gets it straightened out, the nerves out of the way. We also saw after Seoul, Korea, he did settle down, and he pitched great after that. And there's the potential that he's still tipping pitches. So how much of that played into it as well?
Those are all fair points. I wanted to address the tipping pitches because
at least it wasn't his catcher telling everybody.
When I heard that they're looking at that he was tipping his pitches, to me, I'm not going to lie to you, Amy, it felt like an excuse to me. It really felt, and this is for me part of the issue that I have. I heard Dave Essay last week saying that the Padres are getting too much respect. Because a lot of the so-called experts were picking the Show Pods to win this series. And that to me is an arrogant attitude that I find permeates through the Dodgers organization, through a lot of people that cover this team.
What do you mean? Like choosing the Padres, or
no, this belief that they are somehow better than the Padres and that they don't give the Padres enough credit. So if you sit there and you give the Padres credit for being a good team, now, you guys are giving them too much credit. No, dude, this is a team that makes contact, that limits the amount of strikeouts, and that hits for average. That to me is something that plays in the playoffs. And when people say, well, Yamamoto was tipping his pitches, I was like, okay, there may be some truth to that. But why don't we address the fact that the Padres weren't swinging at his junk? They were making him throw strikes. And when he was throwing strikes, he was leaving them right over the plate. And the Padres were killing those mistakes. Give the Padres credit for laying off those pitches that are outside the strike zone and making Yamamoto go into the strike zone. And that to me is what's concerning, is that when Yamamoto has to go into the strike zone, he is very hittable. Mm-hmm. And right now, overall, Amy, in these first two games, I know, like I said, we're going to go back and forth between game 1 and game 2. It has become clear to me, if it wasn't already, I don't think the Dodgers have an ace. They don't have a shutdown pitcher, a guy who...
Did you think we did going into this?
Well, the way people were talking about Jack Flaherty and how Jack Flaherty was their number one, I mean, we saw what happened in game 2.
He's number one by default at this point,
yes,
but I don't think he's necessarily the ace. Like and that's not trying to take anything away from him. We just don't have the ace that we're used to, that we've had in seasons past.
Look, I hope I'm wrong about Yamamoto. I hope. Look, if the guy's not healthy, there's nothing you're going to be able to do about that.
I think both things that can be true, though. I think he could potentially be tipping pitches. He may not be like there could be a myriad of things. And he's also leaving stuff out where the Padres or any team is going to capitalize on that. That literally is the point of the game. We capitalized on them making some errors in the outfield and scored. They're capitalizing on our pitching not being where we would like it to be. I mean, they showed a graphic at one point on, the broadcast Codify, I think, reposted it, where it's like all of our aces that are actually on the injured list. I'm just trying to find it here. Gosh darn it. Keep flipping past it. But Tyler Glasnow out for the season. Gavin Stone out for the season. Dustin May out for the season. Tony Gonsolin has not pitched yet. Clayton Kershaw had 7 starts. Walker Buehler had 16 starts. It's not ideal. And so this is where we're going to see that challenge. I think I don't think it's what will potentially win the day, but I think it's a contributing factor. They're just going to have to play every game as it comes. And when they went into the series, it was, hey, we're going to try to limit contact. We're going to try to hold off. We know some of these pitchers pitch outside of the zone. We're going to try to take advantage of that. And it felt like they kind of did that a little bit in game one. And then game two, it was like the intensity, everything that was going on in the game, people just started swinging. And it was like, you could even see it just with the pitch count for Darvish. He went 7 innings. He only pitched 82 pitches. Like, that's not laying off. That's, we're getting, I don't want to say desperate, but like, we're not pausing and breathing and taking the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a tale of two cities, honestly, to tell you the truth, between that game one and that game two.
The best of times. It was the worst of times.
For sure.
It's on my list of like top 5 books.
Damn,
by the way.
Who had Dickens references on their bingo card, ladies and gentlemen? Go buy yourself a lottery ticket if you had that. For
hey,
this
it's my favorite book after A Tale of Two Cities. I'm a classics gal, so
I would say Great Expectations, but it wasn't everything I hoped that it was for.
Oh, sorry. I just gave myself a book base running blunder. I meant The Count of Monte Cristo. Tale of Two Cities is after mine. Wow.
Nerd alert.
I'm tired. I'm tired. We were at games this weekend, so
Okay, so you were there for game one. So let me ask you this: after Yamamoto gives up 3 runs, did you feel the anxiety in the stadium? Because when I went there in game two, I was asking some of the fans who were there in game one, and they all gave me the same answer, which is, here we go again. Here we go again.
I feel like some fans got that way. You even saw like Max Muncy made the comment of like the air got sucked out until like Shohei hit that 3-run home run. I mean, I'm not going to say that wasn't the case. I mean, it did. It's interesting, for as loud as Dodger Stadium gets and the reputation that they have, it's interesting because a lot of times the stadium sits back and does, like, when you think that they would be cheering, like it would be like a Philadelphia atmosphere, like it's very almost waiting for something to happen and then cheer, versus like, let's just be loud the whole game. And that was kind of the sentiment around the stadium that I heard, was like, can we get everybody to be louder? Like, let's not sit back. Let's be offensive with our cheers, with our, support of this team. And it felt like that was missing from both games of like, God, like we got rallied to, like, let's go. You see a handful of people up, but like, where's the energy in the stadium that's going to help energize our players?
That's a very excellent point. I think that's a very accurate way of describing how Dodger fan approaches a game. They are waiting to cheer for something. I look, let's
also be offensive with our cheers in the next couple games.
They also may be a lot of fans out there that are victims of trauma, and the sense of trauma that this team has caused them for 8 out of 9 years, or whatever you want to, however far back you want to go.
What is that, immersion therapy? Like, if you're afraid of spiders, go play with the tarantula. Like, all right, guys, we're just gonna cheer through it. We're gonna cheer through the trauma.
And look, I mean, you brought it up, but when Shohei hit that 3-run home run, first of all,
wait, did you see that bat flip?
I don't even know if it was a bat flip.
It wasn't a flip, it was a fling.
Like, he chucked it, and I was just like, why is he mad? He just did something really, like, he chucked it. I was so afraid that he was going to hit, like, the Show Pod's bat boy. Like, there was literally, like, cut to some guy just sitting there and being like, taking a baseball bat to the back of the head. The way he threw that, because he didn't even look where he threw it, Amy. He just like threw it. I mean, yes, it was a great moment. And again, who had Shohei as the emotional leader on this team on their bingo card?
Chills again thinking about it. See, he was chucking it because he's like, guys, I was told you cheered. Let's do this. He was throwing the gauntlet.
But it is, once again, for me, it was one of those things where, it's going to be different because we have Shohei. Like, Shohei can make everything better. And then
game one, he did.
Exactly. But then right after that, what happened? The Show Pods came right back and took the lead. Mm-hmm. But the Dodgers were able to bounce back. And then they
intentionally walked Mookie again. And then it was Teoscar's turn to be like, oh, yeah, hold my beer.
Yeah, and so look, I got to tip my hat with the job that the bullpen did. Poor Blake Trinan, they left him out there to die in game one.
We were
Luckily, they
all
didn't
holding our
need him.
breath at the end. Oh my God.
Luckily, they didn't. It wasn't close in game two, and they needed him because I don't. I know Dave Roberts said everybody was available. I don't know.
39 pitches, 1 2/3 innings. Like that's a lot for Trinan when he's
Yeah,
coming in, because that situation that they brought him in to hold that lead, especially in the atmosphere that it was in, you know he felt that pressure. Like we all felt that pressure watching him of like, oh my God, oh my God. He just, somebody singled, okay, somebody walked, all right, and then he struck out Machado, and it was like, oh thank God, okay, he's all right.
yeah. I mean, obviously, look, things did not work out with Michael Kopech, and again, this is why I always stress that you need length from your starters. You need because yes, you go by the script, and Michael Kopech should have closed out that eighth inning, and then you just use Trinan in the ninth, right? But that's not how things worked out, and that is always the fear for me and how volatile the bullpen is.
Well, and then seeing like Freddie, he helped kind of move the game forward. I think he got stranded a couple of times, but that was where that quote that he was heavily medicated, like he stole a base. Like I don't know about you, but like I could wake up and, vacuum and my back is like tweaked or whatever at this age. This guy's got a sprained ankle. He's out running back and forth on the baseline. I don't know what they did, like strapped his ankle up, what they gave him. Obviously it was medically prescribed. He was very clear about that. But like whatever it was, I'm not that active when I'm not feeling well. Like good job, Freddie. Good job.
Can you clarify what the heavily medicated, like, was he on the purple drink? Like, how heavily was he? Did he look like he was on a different planet?
That's what some people were saying, because like at one point, like he was kind of going up to bat and it was like a little like, let's push him in the right direction kind of stuff. But I mean, I think it was even the Padres manager, he had said like, Freddie was playing possum and then here he goes and steals a base on us. I think like he may have been a little out of it, but also in. I mean, he still did a great job. So
Look, everybody's feeling themselves. Everything. Game one was great. It's going to be a different story. This isn't the same old Dodgers. And then here comes game two, saying, "Hold my beer."
Well, and we'll just give Shohei some flores because it was his first postseason game and he got a home run. So like before we take the trip down into game two, like great job, Shohei. Way to show out.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, it made you start thinking, oh, things are going to be different now because we have Shohei. Shohei's going to sit here and save the little small market Dodgers. He's gonna bring them home.
But I think we have to remember that it, again, not trying to be trite, it is baseball. We have so many injured players at this point that they are cobbling together a team, and the fact that we're here, any other team that had this many of their like big players injured the way that we have, even just midseason, Mookie, Muncy, these guys going out and then coming back in, that would have hobbled teams where they never even made it to the postseason, let alone led the league. So I feel like it's a disservice to just completely count them out. Like they're going to fight. Some games are going to be better than others. Game two was not their greatest moment. Hopefully they'll go back and learn from it. And, they're going into the Padres stadium. Hopefully they take that momentum and just like, all right, how do we turn this around? Just like the Padres were probably upset about game one. They turned it around and, obviously they had some help. We'll talk about that later, some other motivations, but hopefully the Dodgers can do that and get fired up and all right, let's go take game three.
Amie, it's not that I am the devil's advocate, but if people
I know I'm more positive.
If people hear you say that, it sounds a lot like an excuse. And for me, it's not an excuse. It's reality.
Which part is an excuse?
All the injuries, the injuries that the Dodgers are dealing with.
That's just a reason. Like, go look at their injured list.
But this is why I scratch my head and I'm completely baffled as to why Vegas still has them as the favorites. Look, I am on record, and I don't think it's not a secret. I'm on record as saying that the show pods are going to win this series. And what you just said is the reason why I picked the show pods to win the series, because I just don't think the Dodgers have enough to overcome what they need in order to beat the Dodgers. The starting pitching to me has always been a concern, and I've been saying this for weeks. And these first two games has not changed my mind. And I don't see going to San Diego. You don't know what you're going to get with Walker Buehler. Now, being said that, Walker Buehler may go ahead and pitch the game of his life.
And he might. He's butane. He thrives in these situations. I'm hoping that fires him up in the best way possible and everything clicks. That's me being hopeful. I have no control over these games. Did it feel great when they lost yesterday? No. But at the same time, we have the benefit of tomorrow's a new game.
Yes. And so let's talk about game 2, because I already got the messages. Of course we lost because the Prince of Darkness was there at the stadium in game 2. And it's
I was there too. So
I just look, whatever makes you guys feel better. If you guys want to go ahead and blame me for that loss in game 2, and it's going to make you wake up in the morning and go on with your day, by all means, I will do that for you.
You know how I feel about blaming and scapegoating, though. No.
I will take that. But yes, game 2 absolutely sucked. And it was one of those harsh, hey, you just crashed back into earth. And like I said, so Jack Flaherty was supposed to be going game 1, and they switched the games, right? Now, Flaherty, to me, did not look like he was a dominant game 1 starter and an ace, right? Now, I know the final score is going to say 10-2. The low leverage guys that came in and let the game go out of hand. For me, the game was already out of the hand by the time that Flaherty exited the game, because the Dodgers offense was nowhere to be found.
But that's not on Flaherty, because at that point there were only 3 runs scored. So by the time
Flaherty left the game,
there were 4, because he hit Tatis with a pitch in the top of the 6th before he ended up coming out.
Okay. So, but that run that Bonda gave up was credited to Flaherty. So he gave up 4 runs.
Correct.
So that's going to be the debate, right? If you want, is 4 runs enough for you to win a game? So that means your offense has got to score 5 to win that game.
It is not ideal, but to be fair, that 4th run didn't come till the 6th inning. We only scored 1 run in the 2nd. At that point, we had some opportunities. We weren't able to capitalize on it. And so, yeah, that goes back to the talk we were just having. Is it insurmountable to have 3 runs by the end of the 2nd inning? Can you come back from that when your team was only able to score 1? Now, technically, Mookie's almost was a home run, and for 4 seconds on TV, it actually was a home run, and then FS1 had to pull that home run back off. So it just being able to capitalize on some of those opportunities. I don't think all the blame, again, I don't like blaming the guys. It shouldn't all be shouldered by Flaherty. Do we want him to not give up as many? Absolutely. It was 2 home runs that he gave up that were the difference maker. But we also need the offense to be able to fire, at least to get us close, so that they can catch up in some of those later innings.
And that's it's true. Look, Flaherty got outpitched. And to me, what is concerning is I talked to Show Pods fans. I was down in San Diego this weekend, so I was talking to Show Pods fans who the way they feel about you, Darvish, is probably how we feel about a lot of our Dodger pitchers. These are Show Pods fans were telling me they call him you garbage, right? Because Darvish seems to struggle against the rest of the National League, but when the Dodgers show up, he turns into Cy Young.
Wait, I remember these guys. I know how they are.
And you know what? And pardon me, and I know I'm going to get a lot of crap for this, but I don't care, because Dodger fans gave that guy so much shit for his performance in the 2017 World Series. And we know what happened in that 2017 World Series. Now, I don't think that defends his performance in Game 7, which was at home. But I think it could say something about his performance when he pitched in Houston. But anyways, Dodger
Well,
fans were
but at
not
that point,
kind.
you've got so much head trash at, just trying to get through the game.
At that point, I blame Dave Roberts for not pulling him when you clearly could see that Darvish did not have it, and you allowed the game to go out of hand, and you still left him in there in Game 7. I would have thought you would have had a quicker hook, being that it was a Game 7. But that being said, Dodger fans have given that guy a lot of grief since he left.
Mhm.
And for him to come here and always shove it down the Dodgers' face ever since then, hey, good for him, man. Because like I said, he put up with a lot of shit from Dodger fans. And it just sucked to see him go down there. Yeah, and this, look, my wife, who is not a baseball expert, after seeing Shohei in a couple of at-bats against you, Darvish, and I don't know what Shohei's numbers are against Darvish, but my wife looked at me and she went, he struggles against Darvish, doesn't it? I was like, I don't know if the numbers support it or not, but it seems like he does not have good swings against you, Darvish.
Well,
So
no,
you got to
nobody did that. I think that's the challenge, and that's where you see like his pitch count stayed so low because everybody was either swinging or just looking at a lot of the contact, it's a lot of flyouts, quite a few strikes. Like he was able to control that zone and control what happened there because the fact that, we had Flaherty going through 5 innings and he had 90 pitches. You've got Darvish going through 7 and he only threw 82. Where our guys were helping him a little bit in that respect of, hold off on some of those pitches, maybe see what happens. But I say that as somebody on the sidelines. I don't know what it's like to be in that heightened situation, to be in the box. You've done all this studying and yeah, like there's a lot of pressure. You've got the fans, you've got your own preconceived notions like that it can't be an easy spot for any team. And again, not an excuse, just there's a lot going on.
And again, this is the reason why I picked the show pods just in terms of their approach at the plate. Look, I would think that 5 runs would be enough to win a playoff game. And that's what the show pods scored in that first game. And then we saw what they did offensively in Game 2. So I don't expect the show pods offense to slow down for the rest of the series.
And that's where we need more small ball. Let's not swing for the fences. Let's actually hit and move the next guy over and see what that gets us.
Look, in Game 2, the Dodgers had the bases loaded with nobody out, and they were only able to get 1 run out of it. Look, I think there was already a bad omen to begin with when Game 2 started with Mookie hitting that home run and Profar. And we're going to get to Profar, guys. Trust me, we're going to get to Profar. But look, and Amie will vouch for me because she knows I was sitting out there in left field. Now, I wasn't in the pavilion. I wasn't in field level because I'm a loger.
In loge.
I was a loger, so I was in left field loge, so I had a very good view. And I thought it was gone. We were all cheering. The whole section was going nuts.
It looked like it was gone on, like, when you looked at the playback, too. And the fact that he kind of held it in his glove for a second didn't help anybody because obviously the scorers thought it was because it went up as a home run. Mookie got credit for that, at least on the broadcast for a second, and then they pulled it back.
So I want to talk about Mookie, okay, because before we talk about Mookie, I just want to say I was saying about the Dodgers' approach offensively. My daughter, who plays softball, during the game looked at me and said, why do they always uppercut? Why are they swinging up? Right? And this is a high school softball player noticing this. And again, this is approach. And this is one of the things that has concerned me, not just this year, but in past playoff performances for the Dodgers, is their approach at the plate. And look, if that ball goes out and Mookie hits it and it's a tie game, maybe it changes things. Maybe Darvish gets a little bit rattled. Maybe he starts making different pitch selections. Maybe if the Dodgers score more than 1 run when they have the bases loaded and no outs, it's a different game, right? But like you always said, you hate what ifs. Look, this is what happened. But I have to question the approach. All right, now getting into Mookie. I am starting there. I want to address, there was a listener on our past episode who had said, a viewer, excuse me, who said they didn't, when we were talking about how much shit Mookie gets, And that viewer had said, well, I don't hear that same negativity about Mookie. Look, if you don't see it, good for you, because that means you're not on Twitter and you're living a very positive life. And I'm
you heard in the stadium this weekend.
Exactly. So there's a couple of things I want to point out, and this is hard. This is really hard because I don't think this is defensible, but with the 0 for 4 that Mookie had in game 2, he is now 0 for 23, dating back to October of last year. I thought it was
0 for 22.
I have 23, but either way, 0 for 22, tomato, or over. Let's just, for conservative sake, let's go 0 for 22. Okay. I've been saying this also. The Dodgers are going to go as far as their stars are going to take them, right? Shohei showed up in game 1, and as much as all I heard, Amie, on the drive home were, this is Mookie. All I hear is Mookie. All day today during sports radio, all I heard is Mookie. There were other people who did not show up in game 2 in terms of offensively. Like Shohei didn't get ahead. And I get it. Shohei will get a pass because of how Shohei played in September and the game that he had in game 1.
Yeah, but I feel like, yes, it's valid to say the 0 for 22, but like he also had a totally different, like he's had regular seasons in between then. So yes, when you are using a stat like that, it does make it sound sensational, but I feel like it discredits the fact that there's a regular season in between. Does it show a pattern for the postseason? Absolutely. But I feel like it's just a discredit to the player. Now, he was also out for a couple of months. So like there's a lot going on in these situations. Plus, he got intentionally walked twice in game 1, and he walked in his first at bat. So for me, it's kind of like Muncy, where half the time he walks, half the time he gets on base, I guess we're not going to use actual fractions. Third of the time he walks, third of the time he gets on base, third of the time he strikes out. But in those cases, if you walk, great job, you got on base. I know it doesn't count statistically the same, but he didn't strike out. He still moved forward. So whether he's being intentionally walked or he's getting a walk himself, he got 3 of those in game 1. That's still getting on base. I think that counts for something.
Look, the numbers are hard to defend. They really are. The real thing that I take umbrage with, and like you said, the pattern, this is concerning because it is the postseason, and it's a pattern once again where you need this guy to be productive. You need, in order for this team to win, especially at the way the starting pitching is, you need to score as many runs as you can. So it is hard for me to defend the results because the numbers are what the numbers are. What I do take umbrage with, and I am going to push back, is this narrative that he doesn't care.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about this on the last episode, and what is concerning to me, look, I have spoken to former executives, to former players. A lot of Major League Baseball, the game of playing baseball, is psychological. And for me, I don't know how this dude isn't in his head, knowing, because he's aware of this stuff, because he went out of his way to tell Dave Essay, hey, man, I'm working. I care. I took 400 swings, right? So for me, he's aware of it. And no matter how many times they say you got to have a short memory or you got to block that out of your head, that's easier said than done, man. It's hard enough. You got a guy on the mound who's trying to beat you. And on top of that, you're fighting with yourself. You're fighting in your head, So like I said, I am not in Mookie's head, but I don't see anything that says that Mookie doesn't care. And I'm going to give you this other example of just how horrible people are, Amie. Today, at the time we are recording this is Mookie's birthday.
Yeah, it is. I was going to say happy birthday, Mookie.
The Dodgers made a post wishing him a happy birthday. I don't know if you went down the rabbit hole and saw the comments on that post.
No.
The very first one is a picture of a milk carton with Mookie's face on the milk carton saying, "Missing, have you seen me?" The next comments, Mookie, happy birthday. Please get angry and just go off in the playoffs for once, dude. We want you to succeed badly. Hit the ball, Mookie. Fuck that cake. Birthday bowling? Hope he wishes for some postseason hits when he blows his candles out. And it just goes on, right?
And this is where I feel like I don't want to use keyboard warriors, but I don't understand. Like, is this, if you had somebody in your life who was struggling with something and you know that they're working hard on it, if this was your sister, your brother, your friend, is this how you would treat them? Because I feel like social media makes it a lot easier, especially for the people who are focused on winning versus actually just supporting this team, win or lose. Because I feel like sometimes baseball is like a relationship. I don't necessarily subscribe to like all of the wedding vows of like in sicknesses and in health, because there's some of those on there that it's like but like, if you support your team, do you support your team, or are you one of the first people in line to kick them when they're down? And I feel like that's unfortunate, because we should be trying to move the needle in favor of these guys. If that's his birthday post and that's what people are putting on there, I don't understand. Like, there's a skit going on right now about, I think it's Robinson Cano, and because he moved from the Yankees over to Seattle, people were giving fans the opportunity to boo him before the game, before they play each other, or something like that. And so people were booing this cutout of him, and then he walks out from behind it, and everybody that booed him was like, "Oh, hey brother, like, great to see you, like, oh my gosh." And one of the guys is even like, "I'm not gonna I won't boo you with the game. I don't want you to win, but like, I want you to have a good game." And it's like, it's that thing of, until you're faced with somebody, how would you treat them in real life? Is that what you would like? Can you carry that over to social media? Because would you do that to a friend? I mean, if you told me you were going through something in your life and I knew you were working hard on it, how crappy would it be for me to be like, "Come on, Juan, just suck it up. Like, are you going to get a like that?" I can't even imagine doing that to somebody, let alone somebody I don't even know.
Look, now I'm going to steal one of your phrases right now, and that is, it's just baseball. What is happening with Mookie so far through the postseason to me is unexplainable. It's the same thing when people say to me about Clayton Kershaw and his history during the playoffs. I cannot explain to you why probably the best pitcher of his generation in the regular season, that success does not translate to the playoffs. I can't
Sometimes it
explain
is
it.
overuse. Like, I mean, there have been articles, books, and whatnot written. Like, if you look behind the scenes to some of the information none of us are privy to, like until after the fact, in hindsight, sometimes it is overuse. It's pitching through injuries. It's the asks that are too much, and it's like that plays into it. Is it, you know? Is Mookie doing okay? Is he, is it the psychological stuff, like you said? There are other players on the team. Muncy went 0 for 4 in game 1. Like, I get it. Mookie is held to a higher standard, but the playoffs are hard. There are other players that aren't getting hits. So I don't understand where this dual standard is. Like you said, Shohei went 0 for 4 too yesterday, but you don't hear him getting as much static as Mookie is getting. So I guess if it makes you feel good to tear somebody down, like, good for you. I'm whatever, but I don't understand it. Like, okay, I hope you do better in the next game.
Look, I like I said, I think it's fair to criticize him for the performance, the numbers. I think that is
And what
fair.
does that do though? What does that do for anybody?
Look, it's not going to do anything, but it is when, again, you can't ignore it, because in the end, when people explain why did this team not win, that's what you point to. What
But
I
don't you
don't think
think the team is aware, not you, but like the team's like, if we're aware of it, the team's aware of it and they're working. He's taken 400 swings. Like, they know if they could change it, they would. That's you're adding humanity to the game. That's where I feel like I don't understand people when they're like, "Well, he should answer for it," or I am going to criticize his performance. Okay, good. How fun.
Well, I don't. I mean, I don't know if there is answering for it, because if you don't win the series, that's the answer right there. Your
It's all
answer.
on him though. It wasn't the other 8 guys
No,
on the team
no.
plus the pitcher and the bullpen. Like,
n-
it's a team effort no matter what. One person isn't the reason that a team fails.
Yeah, but like in the world of fans, like fans, this is the role they play in the game, right? Their
That
opinion.
that doesn't make it right though. Just because we've always done something one way does not make it right. And that's where I fall on the spectrum of like, great, you do you, but that doesn't make it the right way or the best way. And that doesn't make it necessarily the way we want to support our team, because if he feels like our fan base is tearing him down, how is that helping him move forward? I'm not saying we're the contributing factor to his performance, but how is that helping in any way?
Look, you had a perfect example of when the Phillies, when I think they've done it with two different players, but I know there was a stretch when Trey Turner was going through it, and the Phillies fans gave him a standing ovation after booing him for days, right? And he ended up breaking out of the hit slump. But my original point, though, Amy, was if you're going to criticize him for performance on the field, I think that's fair. What I think is unfair is putting this narrative that this dude doesn't care, because that cannot be measured by the fan. This is a guy who has won the MVP. He is an 8-time All-Star. He is a 2-time World Series winner. He's won the Gold Glove 6 times. He's won the Silver Slugger 6 times. You don't get to those levels if you don't care. Now, this is the reason why
we've seen him working on the field. Like, that guy, like, he will work till he drops. Like, he puts his heart into it.
Yeah. And so for me to hear fans flat out there, question his drive, that I think is out of bounds, because I don't think there's anything that supports that. Look, this is also, like I said, a very humbling game. And that cliff can come up on you really quickly. And again, for everybody who wants to sit there and say that Mookie doesn't care, then for me, what you're saying is Clayton Kershaw doesn't care. When Clayton Kershaw gets out there and he gets smoked in the playoffs every year, you're telling me Clayton Kershaw doesn't care? And better yet, you go up to Clayton Kershaw's face and you tell him he doesn't care. I mean, to me, it's just one of those unexplainable, one of the greatest pitchers for me that I ever saw pitch, and I absolutely love, was Greg Maddux. Greg Maddux did not have success in the postseason. And for the life of me, I cannot explain to you why a Hall of Famer, a guy who's won over 300 games, a guy who is a small dude who doesn't physically overpower you, and he was great, I can't explain to you why his success didn't translate into the postseason.
Because he's human.
Exactly.
Period. Like, that's the thing where, like, I feel like a lot of people throw stuff out there, and yes, these guys are elite, but I think there's a lot of factors into it. Head trash, whatever, expectations from fans, just your own, like, perceptions of what you want to be doing versus what is happening, and then just the length of this season. Even just being like, I don't know if you're like me, I love getting to the stadium early. So we're not there for a 3-hour stretch, even when we're going as fans. We're there for multiple hours. That's exhausting. Now, factor in that these guys don't really even get days off, because even on their days off, they're either traveling or doing stuff. 160 days, I bet the majority of people would be burned out. So by the time they get here, you've also got fatigue factoring in. The human factor to me is so important, and you're never going to be able to unlock that. He may come back from it this season, he may not, but what is the point of tearing somebody down for that? Like, I'm not questioning the drive that he has. I agree with you. He loves this game. He puts everything into it. I just don't understand the need to criticize either. Like, what purpose does it serve?
Yeah, like I said, there may be many contributing factors to why he is not finding success on the field. But I will say that him not wanting it, not having the desire to win or to be successful, that I don't buy that argument. I really don't.
I don't even, that argument's not even on the table for me, because like you, it's preposterous. But I guess what I don't understand is, what is the point of digging into everything outside of that and criticizing the performance, when I'm pretty sure the Dodgers are probably already doing that in, like, training, all of their, tape watching and whatnot. Like, that's happening. So like, they're aware of it. So what purpose does it serve?
Well,
to tear any of these guys down? Is it just to make you feel better about the game because we won or we lost? Because at the end of the day, none of us have control over any of that. Like, enjoy watching the game if that's what you're here for. But if you're here just to watch them win and tear down people, I don't know if this is the sport for you.
Well, I'll tell you where it's coming from, and it's going to segue into our next topic, and that is you have a fan base that is extremely frustrated, and they see it coming, I think, because the reaction that we saw from the fans in game 2, they are anticipating, and whether they should do this or not is a completely different story, but I think they are anticipating, here it comes again.
So
They
that
they
doesn't
are
give you the right to act like that.
they
And
are
I
going
know
to
we're about
lose.
to get into it, that there's no excuse for any of this.
They are going to lose the National League Division Series for the third year in a row to a division rival. And the fans, they're upset about that. And it's coming out in this hate towards Mookie. And it came out in game 2. And so, but let's get into it. The
But
profile.
before we jump into that, how does that change your life? You love this team, you love winning. Not you in general, the royal you. I know that that's not a thing, but let's just use that. So what? At the end of you're going to go to work tomorrow. You're going to go be with your family. If this is impacting your life so much that you have to throw a tantrum or you are being negative towards another human being on this planet, does that make you feel good? Because what we're about to get into, like, to me, it's toddler behavior. What are we doing? I thought we loved this game. We love this sport. We love the beauty of how this plays out, win or lose. Because the behavior we're about to talk about, that's not what it feels like to me.
I think that's a very healthy way of looking at it, Amy. Unfortunately, I don't think everyone has that healthy approach. But what you just said right now, I think, is the way you should approach anything, whether it's baseball or any other sport. I think that's the way. But unfortunately, that's not how it is, and we saw that, we saw how it manifested. So before we get into the fans throwing baseballs on the field or throwing beers on the field at Tatis, I do just want to say this, because I don't think this is being reported enough, and that is Profar and Tatis played significant roles in aggravating the situation and escalating the situation and making it worse. There is a video out, and again, Amy will vouch for me because she knows I was sitting out in that section. So I saw how Profar was giving it to the fans the whole game. From the minute he robbed that home run, it continued. But there is video evidence of this, and I know Dave Essay even brought it up on Dodger Talk. Profar, after going back and forth with fans all game long, gave a ball to a fan sitting in the left field, and that fan, after Profar gave it to him, that fan went ahead and threw it back on the field. Moments later, a fan further back threw a ball at Profar. And that's when Profar went to the umpires, and that's when it all became, it all went loose, right? It all hell broke out. Now,
this is on the heels of two guys running on the field Saturday and delaying the game, which we'll get into that in a sec. I am not a fan of game delays like this because I think it's selfish.
So for me, I do not condone fans throwing stuff on the field. They were wrong for doing that. I want to be clear to everyone. They were wrong for doing that. But Profar and Tatis need to share in the accountability on how this escalated, because you can't be giving fans, especially in Los Angeles, and especially fans that have been overserved, and I hate smack talk, Amy. I hate it. There are rules to smack talk, and you cannot break the rules of smack talk. If you are going to talk smack, you have to be able to handle it when they throw it right back at your face. And
this is where we disagree.
And this is the problem that I have with Profar. You can't be talking smack, and then the minute I know, and then you go running to mommy. You can't do that. If you do not, and I get it, it's not fair, but you have more to lose than the fans do. And it's like, dude, if it's that much of a problem, do not engage and go straight to the umpires. As I told my daughter, if that behavior wouldn't have stopped, the Dodgers would have forfeited that game. They would have lost, and then all hell would have broken loose.
See, and this is where I have a different perspective on baseball, and I know it's an unpopular opinion, but this is where I know some people love smack talking. I don't like it. I don't like any of it. I don't, whether you have rules or you don't have rules, oh, if you can take it or you can't take it. Why do we need to be smack talking the other side? To me, all you're doing, if anything, is you're firing up that side. But at the same time, like, what purpose does it serve? Does it make you feel good? I've sat in the pavilion before and I've heard people yell horrible things to these players. And I don't understand it, because if I love my team the way that I love it, and whoever that team is, they have their fan base, why do I need to talk smack to them? I just want to focus on my team winning. I understand that many people love this aspect of the game. They will defend it. And, as long as you follow the rules, I don't like it. I don't think that there's a place for it. There's not a place for it in my world, because I don't think it serves a purpose. Let's say the ball throwing and it didn't go to that level. What are you getting out of it?
Look, again, you're a very healthy person. Don't ever change. Continue this. This is a good way for you to be a productive member of society.
But this is where it's like, just because we've always done it this way, maybe we all need to look at these aspects of the game that maybe are unhealthy or aren't the prettiest parts of it, and change that. Whether you're overserved or not, if you're not doing that, it's not a problem. Let them just be out in the field and focusing on the game. Like, maybe you're the guy or the person who thinks yelling at them is going to distract them and they're not going to make that catch. Well, these guys are professionals. Like, I don't know. It feels ugly to me.
No, it is absolutely ugly. But again, it is one of those things where I think it's frustration, because Dodger fans know what's coming.
If you wouldn't do this in your real life, it should not be something that you would do here.
Well, I have a feeling that the person who threw that baseball or threw those beers is doing it in real life.
And that's a problem with our society. That's an overall problem. But like, you, in theory, you shouldn't treat your partners like that. Your friends, the strangers you don't know yet. You shouldn't treat anybody like that. But we say, because it's in a sports situation or environment, oh, it's okay here. That's not okay to treat any human like that. And on top of that, everybody's suffering. The fan base's reputation, because that's all anybody over social media could talk about, was how awful Dodger fans are, regardless of the rest of the people in that stadium who were just there to watch the game and did not contribute to this. But it also delays the game. It impacts the pitcher. So the guy on the opposing side, great, maybe we want him out of rhythm, but that's not the way we want to do it. You don't want to win a game that way. It's also getting our batters out of rhythm. Like, it's unnecessarily. Let these guys play the game. And on top of it, you're firing up the other team. Is that also what contributed to maybe our meltdown and their rise? Like, I don't like it.
Look, it is human behavior. I'm sure Profar, because he's human, reacted the way he reacted. I mean, that decent right field was giving everybody the Shawn Michaels suck it, behavior out there. And it's like, yeah, it is easier said than done to just turn the other cheek, but who knows what is being said to them out there. It is getting chippy. It is not, but to me, for me, it's all about pressure, Amy.
If you wouldn't want the Padres fans to do that to you when we're visiting their stadium, don't do it to them. Like, to me, it's that whole golden rule. Do unto others like how you would want to be treated. Would you want somebody yelling this stuff or doing that stuff to you? Then just don't do it. It's simple.
But they have, and that's what's also, what sucks about this situation is the Dodgers are the ones the Dodger fans are the ones that are getting labeled for this. There is video proof. Actually, one of our viewers, Jesse, sent me a video earlier today of Padre fan throwing beer at Dodger players,
Cody Bellinger,
at Petco, right? There have been times when I've gone up to San Francisco. There's a reason why they call the fans up there battery chuckers, because they would throw batteries on the field to players. It is not just an issue with the Dodgers. It's just not a baseball issue, Amy.
And that's what I'm
everywhere,
saying.
All over sports.
This is a larger human problem of be better. Just be better.
There were, I believe it was last year in the Mexican Football League, the fans literally rioted in the stands, and it got so ugly to the point, I believe the team was Atlas, they had to ban fans from their home games for a period of time because there was no way of controlling that. And so it is, and maybe it's unfair for me to ask, I'm asking too much of the players to try to keep calm in that situation. I think what they eventually did in that game was the smart thing. If I was the show pods manager, I would have probably pulled my players off the field and told the umpires, told Dodger security, until you get this under control, we're not going out there because I am not risking any one of my players. If this happened in San Diego, I would expect Dave Roberts to do the exact same thing. Pull your players off the field until they can get things under control.
And again, everybody is now suffering for that. The play of the game. This was so there were 54,119 people in attendance. It was the second sellout of the playoffs, and it was the highest attended game all year at Dodger Stadium. Not so for that few people of fans who wanted to engage with the players and go back and forth, everybody in that stadium suffered. And to me, that's like the ends don't justify the means. They are impacting everybody in that stadium. Some people might agree with them and think, oh, that's great. But there are a lot of people who are disgusted by this behavior, who didn't want that delay of game. And it's just like, that's where I think all of sports, we need to be better. Like, just the fact that this happens at other stadiums, it's happening across all sports. That's something that we need to take a look at, because it's not just, hey, let's turn a blind eye to it and like, well, that's sports. Like, it's just not okay behavior.
And yes, and to everybody, even though I was there and I was over in that area, that was not me. I did not partake in any of this. One last thing before we go, Amy, I want to get your opinion. As I said, it was getting chippy. There was an intensity. There was a back and forth. There are two exchanges that I want to get your opinion on. The first one is when Profar walked up to Will Smith after Tatis got hit by Jack Flaherty. And it's actually the same situation. So Profar got into Will Smith's face. And for me, I'm sitting here watching this, and I got up and I started yelling at Profar, right? But I am surprised.
Wait, you got up and you were yelling at Profar?
I was yelling at Profar
from Loge?
From the Loge, with the rest of us Logers. We were yelling.
Did he hear you?
He clearly heard me, because then that's when he went, "Hi, wait," and he started backing up, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So the thing is I don't know what Will Smith said, but it really seemed that Profar was the aggressor. And for me, I felt like it was a microcosm of the series, where I feel the show pods are the aggressors. And like the same thing, you said something off the air that I think is really smart. And again, I want to defend Dodger Fan, because I know Dodger Fan, every time we get, how come all their stadiums are much louder than Dodger Stadium? And I always say, well, give us something to cheer about and we'll cheer. But I think you said something that was really smart, and that is that Dodger fans wait for something good to happen and then they cheer, where other stadiums, it seems like fans aren't waiting for a reason to cheer. They're already cheering. So when I saw Profar come at Will Smith, I kind of wanted Will Smith or someone else on the Dodgers to kind of push back and be like, dude, relax. And we saw that with Jack Flaherty after he struck out Machado. And he told Machado to shut the fuck up and, sit down, motherfucker. Right. And then they were jawing at each other from the dugout again. And then I know Machado made comments after the game saying that Flaherty was throwing at him on purpose, and that the Dodgers, that the show pods don't throw at Shohei. I know I probably have already answered my question, because I know you hate this machismo bullshit and you think this is disgusting. But did you read it the same way I read it when you saw this stuff?
Read it which way? Like
that the show pods are the aggressors and that the Dodgers are back on their heels? Or did you just go, this is so stupid, boys, stop playing with your toys?
I mean, more of that, of like, I mean, I know that some people enjoy that back and forth and they think that that's going to fire people up. I'm of the mentality, I don't even like when people boo Machado and Tatis when they go up, because I'm like, you are giving them free motivation to like hit off. Like, if somebody came up to you and started like mouthing off, and you have something that you're like team wise, like, isn't that just going to motivate you more? Like, oh, I'll show you. I feel like you are giving them free motivation. So I'm of the mentality, I don't like any of that. Like, don't give them a reason to cheer. Now, if it's well founded, like if you do have somebody who ends up throwing at somebody on purpose and it's not an accident, or it wasn't, it wasn't something that left the hand the wrong way, then yeah, okay, that is going to fire people up. But out of turn, not really. It's not my jam. I don't like that part of the sport. I think there's a lot of stuff that we see mirrored in society where that happens, and I don't like it. That's not how I like to enjoy watching sports.
Well, definitely after all that stuff started happening, it seems like the show pods responded. I mean, they ended up hitting 6 home runs in that game against the Doyers. I am very curious to see how this plays out when they go down to San Diego, because the Dodgers in Game 3 are going to face Michael King, and Michael King had a hell of an outing against the Bravos.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we're going to find out is that Michael King facing a Bravos team that had to travel cross country after playing 2 games and they were just really tired, or is that a dominant Michael King and the show pods clearly have a number 1? So, and then we're going to see how Walker Buehler, who comments earlier today said, he has a reputation for being a big game pitcher, and that's the only thing he cares about. Is that reputation of being a big game pitcher. It's interesting, Amy, because if the Dodgers can find a way to beat Michael King, if they can find a way to win Game 3, I think they have a shot. They have a shot in this series. But
we saw that in 2020 though. Like, people counted them out in each of those series, and some of those went, all the full number of games, and they managed to claw back. Like, people count them out a lot. And I feel like this is where the game comes into play. Anybody can win that game. Anybody can have a good day, a bad day. You've got a couple players all clicking at once. You have a couple players that don't have a good day. That's why nobody has cracked the regular season or the postseason code. So nobody would have figured, with as many players as went down on this team throughout the year, that they would have led the league. Nobody would have figured too that going into the postseason, barring some of the stuff we talked about, like, they could still come out on top. Like, you're already even favoring the Padres, and I'm just like, all right, I have no expectations, so I'm just rooting for my Dodgers to win, and I'm going to see how they do every game. And I think that's where we all just have different approaches to how we watch this. Like, I don't want to bring negativity and whatnot into my life. I don't want to have that strife and that stress. And that's why yesterday was a bummer of a game. I think somebody reached out on Twitter and posted like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm good. We've got a new game tomorrow." Like, that's the beauty of baseball. We have a new game tomorrow. We get to reset it, and hopefully they bring their all and everything clicks. And if it doesn't, we've got one more shot. And it's going to go, you got a 50-50 shot. Like, that's life. For me, that's why I love it, because it mirrors life, and we don't have control over any of this. We don't have control. We only have like little things that we can do in our favor in life as well as in baseball. Other people take different approaches, and if that works for them, hey, good for you guys. If that makes you enjoy the game, great. And we're not all going to agree. Some people will look at my takes of how I feel about smack talking and whatnot and think that that's stupid. That's okay. We don't have to agree on everything. We watch the game and we love the game the way that we all do.
Again, Amy, you're perfect. You have
I am far from perfect.
You have a much healthier outlook on life, which is very good. Don't ever change. Keep that.
Are you enjoying the postseason so far?
I am. And look, it goes back to what you said in the sense of, I guess my expectations, and I've always said this, is I hope the Dodgers win, but I expect them to lose. And for me, it is just, I just can't ignore the eye test, Amy. As much as, people will show me the numbers and they will say, well, the Dodgers had the best record in all of Major League Baseball. And look what they did to the show pods in that last series. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, I get that. But I also can't ignore the fact that the show pods are a team that limit their strikeouts and their contact hitters, and they put the ball in play. I also was there in person in game 2 and saw the show pods kick the Dodgers ass. I saw that, and I can't pretend like I didn't see that. And I get, look, I just, that level of optimism that other people have, I admire it. I wish I could be like that. I really don't. But the way I look at it is I will root for them. I hope they win. But for me, if they, I'm telling you, when I went to the game, I think my daughter and my wife were both looking at me, just going, "Are you okay? Are you?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm fine." Because look, I didn't expect them to get their asses kicked 10-2, but like, for me, I realize it's just when your pitching doesn't match up. Like, it'd be a different story if the Dodgers had healthy starting pitching and this is happening to them. Then I'd kind of be like, what the hell is going on? But I usually reserve my meltdowns for the end of the season, and then I just let it all out, right? But for right now, Amy, I'm like you. I'm fine. Look, I'm hoping they surprise me. I hope that I'm just like, oh wow, they did it. That's great. But I am not gonna, being that I saw it in person, and I know the guys that you are talking, or the people that you are talking about, because there are also women that are like this. The people that you're talking about, Amy, I know, and it drives me crazy because I look at them and I sit there and I go, is that me? Is that how I come off to other people? And what I can't stand are those people who are one way behind closed doors, and then in public, they put on a completely different persona. That completely drives me up the wall. I'm just like, at least be honest. You
And
can
I'm sitting at the game with my scorecard and my radio, and I'm just like, I can't see the game. Like, that's what frustrates me at games, is like, can I just watch the game so I can score it? Like,
look, for me, I am a fan of watching good baseball. And look, you've watched baseball games with me, and I know I piss you off when I compliment the other team. But for me,
I don't mind that. It doesn't
oh,
piss
what
me
about
off
when the
when you-
death stare you gave me when I said, God, man, Machado's so good?
that's more my own issue with him and his attitude, but I can admit that he's a good player. Like, the plays that he makes, he's a good player. Do I like his attitude? No, but I mean, I'm sure people can say that about some of the guys on our team too. Like, we all have our favorites. So,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm still gonna watch, but I do
I
not.
feel like you're watching and cringing. Like, I'm trying to like wring every last drop out of October, because I don't know if you've seen the Fever Pitch movie, but much like Jimmy Fallon, like, I have a winter Amie and I have a summer Amie, and right now I'm in summer Amie mode. And before we switch over, once baseball's over, like, we're all gonna go through that withdrawal. So, like, it's always funny to me, all the people who are complaining and whatnot, and it's like, you're about to miss baseball. I hope you love it for the time that you have it, because we're about to go without it for a couple of months. And yeah, we'll get caught up on things in the off season, but man, there's just something about having baseball, at least in my life, that, like, I don't know, is a driving force. I love what we get.
Look, I've been a fan all my life. I am the Michael Scott meme where I am ready to be hurt again. It's
See, and you're going into it looking to be hurt, and I'm just like, cool, we got baseball. Yeah, let's go.
Amy, I've told this story many times on here. My first memory as a Dodger child, as a fan of the Dodgers as a child, is that 1985 NLCS. And again, this is the reason why I identify with those Brooklyn Dodger fans who lost to the Yankees every year.
We just need to get you into baseball therapy. It's fine. You'll be fine. It's fine.
This is my baseball therapy. Talking baseball with you is my baseball therapy, because sometimes I'll say things and then I see your facial reaction to what I just said, and it's just, oh, I've gone too far. I've gone a bridge too far. It's like,
hey,
you put it into perspective and you go, you're acting like an idiot. And like I said,
I'd never.
I'd strive to be more like a fan like you are, but I am Jekyll and Hyde. There's a part of me.
And to be fair, so that we're all like throwing it all out, there were a couple years there where I struggled with kind of leaning over to more the Prince of Darkness side. And I will credit my best friend Hillary for like bringing me back and putting it back into perspective, because there were times where it was just like, I think even when I first met you, like, this player, like, what is he doing? And it's like, you know what, he could be having a bad day. I don't know what his life is like. And it's, I will give her all the kudos in the world for bringing me back to my Care Bear stare side of it, because I definitely enjoy baseball a lot more than I did the other way, for me. Not saying that doesn't work for other people.
Look, I blame my genes because my
Jordache,
Jordache
Levi.
genes. My ass looks great in them. No, but my father is a big sports fan. He loves football, and I see him. He gets super excited when his team wins. But when his team loses, he's so calm and he just flips the channel and he goes on with his life. And I'm like, wait, why am I not like that? And I asked my dad once.
Yeah, why aren't you like that?
Because my dad, even as a kid, I was like this, Amy. I would watch the games, the Dodgers lose, and I'm storming around the living room. I'm pissed off. Just like my sister would say, I can see the steam coming out of his ears, right? And my dad would always say, pero ¿por qué te enojas? ¿Por qué te ganas con enojarte? Like, why do you get mad? What do you get out of getting mad?
Oh, yes.
And my dad said to me, he goes like, you know who you are? You're exactly like your tío Miguel. This is my dad's youngest brother. And that's how he is. He watches his football team. They lose and he gets exactly like how I get. So again, it's hereditary, Amy. I didn't have a chance. I didn't have a chance.
You have a choice. So I'm curious from our listeners, as we're kind of heading into Houston, we have a problem territory. How do you guys watch the game? Like, where do you fall on the spectrum of Amie and Juan? Like, where do you land? Because I'm curious how you guys like, because I know me and my friends, the way our friend group watches the game is different than Juan and his friend group, and there's no right or wrong. Just curious, how do you guys see it?
I absolutely. Leave us comments. Like I said, we love engaging with you. That's going to be, I told you this was going to be a long one, guys. Again, a reminder, we're only dropping one episode
the
this
postseason's
week. So
going to be a little tricky with schedules, guys. So be patient with us, but we'll smash a lot of content into at least an episode.
Exactly. So we decided to supersize this one. So
fluffy.
Amie,
it's fluffy.
Any last words?
Let's go game 3.
Exactly. Okay, everybody. So if you have been listening to us on the audio portion, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review, help spread the word about the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us comments. What kind of fan are you? Are you crazy like me, or are you actually a decent human being like Amie is? Make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. Nos despedimos con un beso. Amie, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.